if you've got any questions for us, pop them in the chat as you're going along, and we'll do our best to answer. So, like I said, we're West Cheshire Green New Deal Hub, and Green New Deal UK was formed in 2019, and it's a non-politically aligned organisation campaigning for a Green New Deal. So not being aligned to any political party is important for the credibility of the movement in the eyes of the public, and it enables us to go out to other groups and get more involved with other groups than if we were aligned to a party such as the Labour Party. Right?
Okay, right. Yeah, perhaps unlike other climate action groups, social justice is a key component in deciding the demands that we make. We are clear that rapid decarbonisation should not mean that individuals and communities are left out. Rather, we hope that in putting people and the planet first, we will begin to reduce the gross inequalities that currently affect society.
So we're going to tell you a bit more about those 5 climate change principles in a minute, but what unites us is a belief in those principles. But the way we are organised is that there's a central hub, a central team, and then they run training and they provide resources to the hubs. So we started up in Chester, and there are a few more people who are outside of Chester. So we decided we'd do it for West Cheshire. There's also regional organisers who help us, and it's all very much about equality and being inclusive and giving everybody space to bring along their own ideas to the group.
Yeah,
I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and tying on from that and looking beyond it, we wish to be a broad and inclusive movement based in local communities and seeking to give a voice to those who've been denied one. Therefore, inclusivity is a key principle. As we work together, we have to have respect, understanding and kindness towards everyone in our group. And as our group expands, it's important to ensure we make everything we do as inclusive as possible and to operate in a manner that addresses everybody in West Cheshire. We're particularly working with allies to support climate, social, racial and economic justice. And we already have group members who are involved in other groups, for example, XR, Friends of the Earth, Incredible Edibles, who you'll hear from a bit in a minute, and Black Lives Matter Chester. All of these members are with us alongside their campaigning, as they also wish to support Green New Deal principles.
And some of us have a lot of expertise about climate change, and others just know enough to understand that they need to do something. I understand most of what I've read, watched and listened. I don't retain the facts and figures. If you want somebody who can tell you exactly why we should be doing all this, I'm not your person. But I just know that this is the most important campaigning I should be doing at the moment. And that's why I'm involved.
And as a local hub, we have flexibility. We can join national campaigns like the Build Back Better campaign, but I'll hasten to add, we are beginning to think in terms of we really support, we might support our principles of a Build Back Better. There's Boris Johnson begins to use that in his Conservative campaign. Are we going to continue to use that? Or we go to insist on what Build Back Better really looks like? But that's a discussion amongst us. We can look at what is most relevant in our area and develop our own local campaigns. For example, we might want to campaign for free bus services across West Cheshire. I know that some of us are interested in the transport group set up comprising of members of different campaigns like Friends of the Earth and eco communities. Change occurs in steps, and the first step of public transport might be for the council to establish a franchise of public bus services, maybe with free travel for the under 30s.
And yeah, there are already quite a few groups in West Cheshire, so you might wonder if there's a need for our group. And I think we think that there is, because we're campaigning for climate change, but also for social justice. To use this opportunity of tackling the climate crisis with the need to ensure the well-being of all people, so that people aren't left behind, and they also can benefit from some of the changes that we need to make to become carbon neutral. So, as we've seen recently with the pandemic, it's often the most disadvantaged people who've been affected the worst. Many of us will have friends and family who've been impacted by COVID-19, and I think we're all changing and struggling to adapt to the new way of living. And that's the same for climate change. So maybe, Nigel, this is a good time to talk about what the Green New Deal means.
Yeah, I'm just going to give you a quick whistle-stop tour of the Green New Deal. It all began with a newspaper article in 2007, and then a group of environmentalists and economists in the UK met together for over a year to work out what a Green New Deal would mean in the UK. Amongst those was a certain Anne Pettifor, who I think was worked quite a lot with John McDonnell over the past few years. The whole idea of New Deal, of course, harkens back, for those who know their history, to the New Deal that Roosevelt put out in the United States just before the Second World War, in 10 or so years leading up to that point, because the US economy was in a poor state, and was high unemployment, low wages, and people were in great hardship. And he, under the guise of Keynesian economics, which had been a theory had evolved, they worked out that they could afford to power a new economy. And I think things like the Hoover Dam were built at the time. So there's a great national effort going on. And great national effort is needed if we are to tackle climate change. Well, not just national, international effort. The New Deal recognises how finance, the economy and the ecosystem are all interlinked, and therefore major system change is required. In 2017, the Sunrise Movement in the US, mostly by young people, adopted the Green New Deal as a 10-year plan to mobilise every aspect of American society to 100% clean and renewable energy by 2030, a guaranteed living wage, and a just transition for workers and frontline communities. This 10-year plan idea is purposeful because across all nations there is a need to rapidly decarbonise our economies. Great action, of course, in one country will not help if other countries do not adopt action on the climate. In the UK, more interest was shown in the Green New Deal, particularly in 2019, with the imperative to keep global warming below 2 degrees C and preferably less than 1.5 degrees C. And to do this widely, it's recognised that we need to rapidly decarbonise the entire economy by 2030, just shade under 10 years away now. Anne's going to introduce the 5 principles of Green New Deal, and then I will count a few more bits from them, explain them in more detail. All right,
cheers.
You go.
Cheers, Nigel. So the overall principles for the UK are total decarbonising of the economy, creating millions of new, well-paid, secure and unionised jobs, transforming our economy so the financial system serves people and the planet, protecting and restoring vital habitats and carbon sinks, and promoting global justice.
In more detail, what does this mean? Well, I'll pick up point 1. To totally decarbonise the economy of the UK, we want to do this in such a way that makes the lives of individuals, working people and communities better by eliminating social and economic inequality. And one of the idea of the hubs and what we're working on at the moment is how these things might translate down into the local area. So what would that look like in West Cheshire? We'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. I'll pass you over to Anne for point 2.
Yeah, so create millions of new well-paid good jobs across the length and breadth of the country, which will enable healthy and fulfilling livelihoods. I'm old enough to remember when you had quite good employment rights. And when I hear young people talking about the 0 hours contracts and the pay that they're on now, I'm just appalled. And we just need to get back to making sure that the jobs that we create are good for the people who are working with them. So they've got a decent standard of living, and the green jobs that we need to build our economy in a green way.
Yeah. I might add pensionable rights as well, because those have gone down the drain lately. 3, transform the UK economy so that the financial system serves people and the planet. We need the economy to work in the interests of everyone, not just a select few. I think that we all understand that. And therefore, we need greater levels of democratic participation, strong accountability, and common ownership. Common ownership because basically things that we value are shared in common. We energy should be a common thing. It's something that we all need. Water, clean water, again, should all be in common ownership. We need to give power to communities and people currently on the margins who are the most vulnerable to the effects of climate change, and of course respect natural ecological limits. The ecological limits don't just refer to the 1.5 degrees C of warming. They also require, things like topsoil, which is, going away everywhere. If we don't do something about it, we are denuding the earth of precious resources, and of course stopping it being able to regenerate. So we really need to do some hard work there. 4.
Right. Are we on to global climate justice?
Protect and restore vital habitats.
Okay, so we also need to protect and restore our vital habitats and our carbon sinks, such as forests, oceans and peat bogs, and ensure the universal provision of clean water, clean unpolluted air, green spaces, which are good for mental health and a health-inducing environment for everyone. I know we all felt so much that we liked the lack of pollution at the beginning of lockdown, didn't we?
Yeah.
The noise pollution was less and the air pollution was less, and it's just made us realise what we were putting up with every day.
And the 5th point: promote global climate justice by helping all people and countries to achieve carbon zero rapidly and fairly in line with the time frames indicated by the science. As we've said already, taking care of the UK alone or the US alone will not solve the global climate challenge. So that is why this 5th dimension is needed. Our action in this area also needs to reflect our carbon debt occurred by historic emissions since the agricultural and industrial revolutions, and of course the exploitation of resources and communities largely from the global south. We have a great historic debt, and we must help those nations that are less able to transition to do so.
So that's our principles, and that's what we're thinking of aiming towards. But we actually wanted to look recently at the reality of what would it look like. So what would a carbon neutral West Cheshire look like? And have any of you ever stopped to think about that? I don't know if you want to put anything in the chat about what you think it would look like if we had energy efficient housing, so everybody could afford to heat their homes. If the River Dee, along with other rivers in England, met the new environmental levels. I think all the rivers recently have failed the new environmental guidelines. So we've got a dirty, polluted river in the Dee, where maybe we've got free transport, where it's easier to walk and cycle. It's really worth thinking about it and envisioning it. It would mean huge changes, but there's benefits for us all too, isn't there?
Yeah. I might add, you might help Anne and I with our homework, because we're thinking about the vision for Cheshire for tomorrow. So yeah, anything that you can contribute to what you think the picture would look like for West Cheshire, great. We need more ideas from everybody.
Somebody said it might be heaven on earth, Nigel.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Talking about the, we had a good start in Cheshire. Last year, the council declared a climate emergency, and that's only a start. And the early forerunner of our group, which of course was Labour Green New Deal, with the submission to the council's consultation in order to bring about zero carbon Cheshire. A number of us got together, I think it was in January, and we thrashed out some submissions, and I was the one tasked with sending it off. So I remember it quite well, and if I dig around, I can find it, although I'm not going to do that just now. I think one of the purposes of our group and all environmental groups in West Cheshire is to scrutinise the council response to the climate emergency, and particularly on the pace of action. I think the council needs, as it were, help from the sidelines, not because they're unwilling, but because they have other constraints and other things up on their mind, and it does need people concerned on the outside to continue pushing for change. Some identifies areas we've already identified for action include energy efficiency in housing and tackling fuel poverty. I don't know if you know this, but residential property makes up a substantial proportion of Cheshire West and Cheshire's greenhouse emissions at 572,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide equivalent per year. We really need to push for the retrofitting of homes to improve energy efficiency, and where new homes are approved for building, they must conform to the Passive House standards. I will explain that in more detail. Basically, it's like carbon zero. You don't lose the energy, they store it and reuse it, so that they can, they're the ultimate in energy efficiency, these homes. Over to you, Anne.
Thanks. Dave, are we all right to go on for about another 10 minutes?
No.
Okay. So retrofitting homes is one of the ideas.
Keep
and that
going,
would help.
Anne.
Eh?
Keep going.
Right, thank you.
We're interested.
My audience wants me to keep going, Dave.
You never take any notice of me. That's why I said no.
I can't talk if I laugh. So retrofitted homes is one of the examples. We've got, I think in 2018, we had 36% of children living below the poverty line, which is just absolutely appalling, isn't it? And families can't afford to do the green thing. They need to keep their bills down as small as they can. But if we take steps to retrofit their homes so that they have really small energy bills, A, they'll be better off, and B, they'll be warmer and have a better standard of life.
Yeah. Hit me next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you, B. Never mind, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Transport. I think we are onto that, aren't we?
Yeah.
We can help to press for improved infrastructure for electric vehicles. And by that, I mean installing charging points and issues of access to assist active transport, such as friendlier street design, redressing the gender imbalance in cycling, and providing cycle training for older learners.
So our first campaign, as Nigel said, was about the Build Back Better campaign, which came out of a sort of a weekend of training when people realised that we couldn't carry on with our ordinary campaigning for climate change, and that this gives us an opportunity now that we've had to have this shutdown and we've had to relook at the way that we can work to actually come back and organise something better, to start out of, maybe not, instead of paying everybody furlough, if jobs are going to go, why don't we have a campaign to start retrofitting homes or something like that, so that we can just be moving forwards to build back and to have better green jobs and industries, rather than just going back to the same old. That's what's causing what's going to be the extinction of the planet, isn't it? The extinction of us and everybody who comes after us. So we've been involved in that, which is a coronavirus recovery that protects public services, tackles inequality, and provides those secure jobs, and tries to look at a way of being shock-proof in the economy so that we can fight climate crisis.
I'm multitasking because I've just popped something in the chat box.
Oh, have you?
Yes, yeah. Another campaign that I was involved in last year, and it's one that could continue, is getting financial institutions such as Barclays Bank and such as the Cheshire Pension Fund or any other pension funds to divest from fossil fuels. Fossil fuels need, the kind of intensive investment that's needed. It doesn't come out of thin air. It comes from banks, it comes from pension funds, and basically they couldn't continue to do what they do if there wasn't a stream of finance, or for that matter, if insurance companies were not to insure their activities. And therefore that is a way of bringing pressure to curtail development of fossil fuels. So one of our campaigns will be to continue the Divest Barclays campaign.
Yeah, before Nigel got involved in that, I just thought they were such wealthy organisations that they didn't need that sort of support. So it's quite interesting, really. We've also got members involved in other climate action groups, and we lend our support to those campaigns, like asking MPs to support the current climate and ecological emergency bill that's going through. We've been involved in the Friends of the Earth, this is a bit of a mouthful, the Friends of the Earth Climate Action Group, Green and Fair Recovery Week of Action. So we were involved in that. And I'm sure there's other campaigns that people be, well, we've also got involved in doing some of the XR campaign, didn't we, a couple of weeks ago? So so it's working together with other groups, as well as having our own campaigns, lending support where we need to, where we can and want to.
As you probably realise, the government will be publishing their comprehensive spending review shortly this autumn, and that will detail sectors and areas where they aim to spend money. Therefore, this is a crucial opportunity to implement a green and fair recovery from the COVID epidemic. The coronavirus pandemic has shown that government can act swiftly and make major changes to respond to an emergency when they have to. We need them to act on the climate emergency in the same way. In fact, it's a greater threat to human civilization than the Second World War. Together, we can make change, and in the case of climate emergency, we can't afford to stop pressurising our government and changing the way we live as much as possible to reduce our own carbon footprint. So,